Hello, horse lovers. On March 25th, I was scrolling through Facebook when I came across some very sad news. The famous horse Shyboy had passed away at the age of 33, which is an amazing age, but of course, anybody who knows his story is going to miss him. Now, Shyboy's story actually starts with a man named Monty Roberts, who is world famous as the man who listens to horses. Monty grew up seeing horses broken, and I do mean broken. They were hurt, forced into submission, terrified, basically whatever could make them submit. And Monty saw horses treated this way and he said, there's got to be a better way to do this. There has to be a way that doesn't involve hurting or frightening a horse. Well, he watched wild mustangs interacting with each other, and in doing that, he learned their language. As incredible and unbelievable as this sounds, he learned how they communicate. And of course, it's not a language that is similar to any spoken language. It's all mostly body language. The way their ears are positioned, if they lower their head or raise it, if they're looking and chewing the air. All different little signals that amount to a language. And Monty realized, I can learn this language and I can use that to communicate with a horse and get them to do what I'm asking, not because I'm forcing them, not because they're afraid of me, but because they see me as their friend and protector. And he realized this is going to work a lot better than any traditional method. Why? Because just think about it. If you have a job to do, are you going to do a better job for a boss you don't care about? Or if you have a boss that's good and kind to you, are you going to go out of your way to please them? Well, Monty's methods work, and he gave many demonstrations showing this. But there were a lot of people who still doubted. They said, oh, that horse must have been drugged. You must have done something to hurt that horse ahead of time. Must be an easy horse that you did some other training method with to make it look like this is what's happening. And Monty said, okay, you want proof? I'm going to take a wild mustang that has been unhandled by humans, and I will communicate with this horse in his language, and he will partner with me, not because I'm forcing him, but because the horse sees me as his leader and his friend and protector. And of course, everybody said, this can't be done. We don't believe you. So Monty arranged for a Mustang who had been born in the wild to be taken to a farm where he was turned loose with half-wild rodeo horses, not handled by humans. This particular Mustang was left alone completely. Yes, he interacted with horses that knew humans, but the humans did not touch him, didn't pet him, didn't try anything to get close to him, didn't handle him. Nothing to establish connection with humans, so this is a horse fresh out of the wild. And Monty said, I'm going to take this Mustang and I'm going to show you my methods work.
This bona fide, registered, freeze-branded, wild Mustang is going to come back to me and say, I want to be with you. You're okay? And I'll take this saddle, I'll take this bridle, and I'll take this rider. That's all I've ever said I could do, and I'll do it.
Now, join up, which is the method that Monty uses, is normally done in a round pen. Because if you're in a round pen, the horse isn't going anywhere. Out in the wild, this was a real test because the little Mustang Shyboy could have just gone anywhere he wanted. And for a while, that's what he did. Monty stayed beside him on horseback, and eventually Shyboy realized, this guy's talking my language. And as Monty said, ultimately a horse has to respect their own language. And it took a little bit of work, but ultimately Shyboy chose to stay with Monty even though he could have just kept running off. And that is just magic. I mean, this little horse understood that Monty was not a threat and that Monty was talking to him. That is absolutely amazing.
Animal behaviorist Bob Miller particularly wanted to be here to watch this remarkable event.
Well, it's remarkable in that we're doing this in the open with a wild horse. We've got thousands and thousands of acres of open country here. But this animal is not fleeing. It's responding to the round pen technique, not in a round pen, not in a confined area, but out in the open. It's verification that all of Monty's concepts are perfectly valid, that horses do respond to the body language he is using. They respond to movement by accepting the leadership of whoever is moving it.
Monty was able to put a rope around Shy Boy and bring him back to their camp. And the next day, the very next day after this horse had been wild, he was able to get Shy Boy to accept a saddle and a bridle and a rider. This process would not have happened that fast any other way. When you're dealing with a wild Mustang, this horse had never known what it was to be around a human and had grown up afraid of predators because a wild horse has to be. A horse that isn't afraid of predators isn't going to be around very long. For a Mustang to accept a rider on his back in that amount of time is just insane. Monty started with just a leather strap around Shy Boy's belly so he could get used to the feel of that. Then, okay, we're going to move up to a very small, like a racing saddle. And then, okay, we're going to put a big Western saddle on you, and now you're going to have a rider. And Shy Boy actually accepted this.
Then you make your move. You go for it.
Hey, there you are. All right.
Shy Boy proved that Monty's methods worked. Monty did exactly what he said he'd do. He took a Mustang in the wild and right out there had him accept the saddle, bridle, and rider because he wanted to, because he saw Monty as his friend and protector. But people still had doubt. They said, okay, you've proven that your methods work. But is Shy Boy really happy now? Wouldn't he rather be running in the wild with his buddies? So Monty said, let's find out. Let's take him out to the wild. I will release him with the herd of half-wild rodeo horses that he was with. He'll be safe there if he chooses to remain wild. But we're going to find out, does he want to be friends with humans or not? What is his choice? And they released him, and at first he ran off with his buddies, and everybody thought, okay, apparently he wants to be free. Well, they said, let's give him a night. And they were just about to leave to go home the next morning when Shy Boy came running down the hill, choosing to come back to Monty. Monty has described this as a fulcrum in his career.
Shy Boy, the little Mustang that came back to me, that was a fulcrum. When he came away from those other Mustangs and came to me, the hair stood up on the back of my neck, and there's been just no other feeling like it in my entire career.
Shy Boy could have chosen to be free, but he had built such a connection with Monty that he wanted this life. He wanted to be with people. Now, if that doesn't prove that these methods work, I don't know what does. Monty had given him the name Shy Boy when they first started out, but Shy Boy soon proved to be anything except shy. He really got to love people. And Monty wrote a book from Shy Boy's viewpoint. He says he translated it for Shy Boy, telling the story of the life that they built together. And Shy Boy signed a lot of those books by putting his hoof in ink and then stepping on the page. And I love this promo video that Monty made where someone else is speaking as Shy Boy and they make like they're taking him to go sign his books. And I love how easy Shy Boy gets into the trailer. There isn't a horse owner alive who wouldn't give their right arm to have their horse get in the trailer this easily.
Okay? If you think you can go get in that trailer down there,
Yeah.
then I'll drive you to go to the office and you can sign your books. So we go?
Yeah.
Yes, I know. So I have to take this rope down for you?
Yeah, come on, Monty.
I'll go.
Yes.
I'll drive you.
I want to share a sample of that book that they're talking about in that promo. And it shows how Shy Boy was anything but shy. At this point, it shows him interacting with some kids who were visiting. And it mentions some people who were working with Monty. Fernando and Maria. Or Marie, so it says. We saw a car approaching us, and Marie reined me to a stop. It was Fernando, our farm superintendent. Marie wanted to have a word with him, I guess, because he stopped his car just off to my left and they were talking as she looked out the window. It seems he was taking several of the farm children to the bus for a field trip. I couldn't stand it. I inched closer to the car and soon had my head through the window and completely inside the car. I wanted to visit with some of my favorite friends, the children. Fernando was sort of pinned against the seat as the kids kissed me on the nose and rubbed my face. At that point, Monty came driving up behind us with his pickup. He got out laughing and saying that he thought some horse had run straight into the car, breaking the window and sticking his head through it. I'm a Mustang and too smart to run into a car. I was perfectly fine having fun with the kids. Monty helped me pull my head back out of the window while Marie and the children were laughing like crazy. It's just me, Shy Boy, and I love kids. A few years back, Monty made a promo video of Shy Boy celebrating his birthday that year. And at that point, it was estimated that over 500 million people had visited Shy Boy. That's pretty incredible. And even back then, a few years ago, he lived to an amazing age. So the fact that he made it to 33 is just miraculous.
Well, what a time it's been. All these years with Shy Boy. 26 years. June will be his 29th birthday, but he's entering his 29th year. Mustangs just don't live that long.
Everyone who's ever heard Shy Boy's story is heartbroken that he's gone. But at the same time, it's impossible to not feel joy looking back on the life he lived. He lived to 33, which is unbelievable for a Mustang. And his legacy is showing that it is entirely possible to use communication and gentleness to have a horse partner up with you and do as you ask. Not because they're forced to, not because they're afraid of you, but because they want to. And that legacy is going to help other horse trainers and by extension other horses who will know what it is to live a life of always being loved the way Shy Boy did. He had a pretty amazing story, and I'm glad to know that there are horses like him who live their entire lives knowing what it is to be loved. I hope you all have a happy Easter, that you're looking forward to that. It's kind of appropriate to share this story now because Shy Boy actually joined up with Monty on Easter Monday. So, kind of fitting timing. So, I hope you all take care, and until next time, keep horses in your life.